There are good ways, but also bad ways to grow your photography business. And so I'm going to cover both sides of that coin in this episode. And in particular, I'm going to concentrate on real estate photography, but these things will apply to just about any genre of photography as well. Let's start with something simple. We'll work our way up from there. And the first thing is to consider add-ons. Now, when we're talking about real estate photography, when you're hired, just like other genres of photography, your client will expect to see other offerings that you have. In real estate photography, it's not just taking the photos, but they may at some point want to have a property video done, some drone work done, some custom editing done. And so if you don't offer at least those things, then you're not going to be the first choice photographer, because there may come a time when they do need to have these things, so they'd rather have a full service photographer. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to do all those things. For instance, I have my own drone pilot. He does all my drone work, and he's also a backup photographer that I have. So if you're not really up to speed on doing some of these things, or you just don't have the time for it, you can go ahead and use another resource that is locally available to help you with that. And you can team up and you can start growing your business. But you really should try to do a lot of these things yourself, especially video. That's pretty easy. I've got a course on that, books on that. But when it comes to the editing portion of it, this is where a lot of people don't see this as an add-on, and it's a very missed opportunity. Now, I know a lot of photographers will want to outsource their editing. It's very common in real estate photography. It's something I don't recommend, and here's why. Not only do you lose control of your photos, and that can be argued about what you're doing and the quality that you're going to get, but we're going to touch on that here again. The base of this, though, the real big reason when it comes to expanding your business, is that there are missed opportunities if you don't do your own editing. You're talking about virtual staging, you're talking about item removal, custom things, and these will help you expand into other areas. For instance, when it comes to virtual staging, you probably think of, well, all I need to do is pop some furniture into an empty room. Yes, that is very typical for the listing market, but there are other markets we're going to talk about here. For instance, in commercial spaces where you've got large empty spaces that you can give concept images for, showing how it might look. Those things pay a lot higher for virtual staging. So there's also things for builders. Here was an example. I did this really large fireplace for a house up in Montecito, California, and it was all this limestone. You can see how big this thing is compared to the workers that were there. But I turned it into this. This was one job for one photo, and it paid very well for my time to go up there, my minimum time on site, but also all the renditions of all the virtual staging and concept images that I provided for them. But a bigger thing with this is you might think, well, virtual staging doesn't pay that much. Box Brownie or some of these companies charge pennies, it seems like, probably about $20, I think, for an image. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. You can charge a lot more because you offer something that they can't. One, you can do it better. But you can also do it faster, and you can provide more personalized service working with clients. Now, if all you're thinking about are real estate agents and they won't really care and they don't really care for this, think again, because this brings us into the second thing of these 5 big issues and ways to grow your photography business, and that's diversifying into other markets. This was huge in growing my photography business. Right now, I work about 50% in the real estate listing market. The other half of the work that I do happens to be for commercial real estate and also for designers and builders, architects. There's a lot of real estate photography that needs to be photographed out there besides just for temporary media for real estate listings. But unfortunately, or fortunately for you, there aren't a lot of good photographers that have the quality and standards that these other businesses are looking for. That makes it easy to start penetrating these markets, especially when it comes to designers. Now, with commercial real estate, a lot of times if they can get 1 or 2 drone photos, a lot of those commercial real estate brokers will be happy. But when you can start showing that you can do something better than their competition in the area by providing things like that specialized virtual staging, better quality photos, you can provide your own editing, those things are charged by the hour gigs all the way around, from shooting, editing, everything. So yes, you could actually work less and make more. I know that sounds cliche, but that's commercial real estate. There's more money to be had when you start working with builders, designers, remodel companies. Those companies have already made quite a bit of money on doing a remodel or building something, so they have a high margin that they can use for advertisement material. But they do have high standards because of that. So once you get really good at what you're doing with photographing and editing, you can start moving into that higher end market. You can start pitching, and these companies are constantly looking for really good photographers that can do the work. But if you're not up to speed, if you didn't decide to take on your own editing, you didn't learn editing very well, you're not going to get those gigs. And this is where, if you're having a problem with photographing or editing or something else when it comes to pro real estate photography, I can help you out with that. As you may know, I have courses on doing real estate photography. I've got a course on doing professional interior photography, a course on expert editing. I've also got a course on doing professional exterior photography, and also a course on doing videography for real estate. And I've also written best-selling books on real estate photography as well. And I have links to all that down in the description for this video. But moving on to the third item here, which is very important, and it is so often overlooked, and it is so simple, but it's merely to raise your prices. You want to grow your photography business, you need to start charging more. But you can only charge more if you've reached a certain level of quality that it's worth it. You can't charge for a 4-star dinner if you're still making McDonald's French fries. You just can't do it. So you need to get to that certain standard. But once you do, when you're good and people are looking to you because you've got good quality work, start increasing your prices. I call this price throttling. It's in my business techniques book, where I say price throttle, where when you start getting busy, your prices start going up. Now, not for existing clients, but new ones that want to take you on. That way too, you're not getting so over busy with clients that are so price conscious, they're the cheapos out there. Instead, you're going to start attracting the really good clients that pay very well. I mean, seriously, wouldn't you rather, I've said this before many times, go to one $500 gig than 5 $100 gigs? Of course. And that's the goal. So really think about increasing your prices as you get better. The fourth thing to consider here is to actually be a full media provider. That includes doing headshots and also promo videos. So I used to do a lot of headshots before I got into real estate photography, all kinds of stuff for actors and also for models, but then also for businesses. And when I got into real estate photography, I offered that as an additional service as well. So if you've done headshots before, then why not offer those to your clients? They want to be able to have that for their cards. And there's always the stereotypical realtor who's got the business card that has a headshot from when they were in high school. But you can offer them something better. And of course, if you're good at that, offer that. Also promo videos to be able to show, hey, I can not only do property videos, I can do Instagram Reels, and I can also have you possibly talking, do stuff like that. So that's another area to really think about. But the fifth thing here, before getting into the wrong things to do, is that you have to let your clients know that you provide various services. So it's not a matter of just sending out email blasts and just blasting the masses or doing cold calls, things like that. Existing clients that you have, no matter how many you have, even if it's one client, you want to let them know that you provide all these other services and show them the things that you can do and prove that you can. When you do, then word will spread because you've been able to prove your worth, and also then your clients know that you provide these services. Now let's talk about the wrong ways to expand your photography business. The biggest mistake that I see out there when a photographer wants to expand their business, and we see this a lot in real estate photography, is someone that just wants to get more gigs, more gigs, more gigs, more gigs. Well, what happens is you'll start getting yourself into a race to the bottom. See, everybody, anybody can make more money no matter what they do for work by just working longer hours. But that's not working smart, that's just working hard. So it's not a matter of just getting more gigs, it's a matter of getting higher paying gigs. The first thing to that, which might become pretty obvious, is that if you were doing photography, let's say real estate photography, and you wanted to get yourself 5 gigs a day or 8 gigs a day, well, all you're gonna do is be in your car driving from one house to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. If you, though, had just a couple gigs a day, you would drive a lot less. But there's this idea that, well, if I had 5 shoots a day or 8 gigs a day, then all I have to do is just outsource my editing. But then you start getting a point of diminishing return because no longer is your growth of income rising. The business might be, you're getting more revenue coming in, but then you have to start paying for an editor. And you might think, well, editors are cheap, that's not bad. Wrong. As I discussed earlier, it's also going to inhibit you from breaking into other markets that pay more. Also, it comes with a slew of other problems. You're going to walk into a lot more strangers' homes if you're doing real estate photography. You don't know what all you'll be facing, and you'll be in a race to the bottom to get more gigs, more gigs, more gigs. You're going to start competing in price. It's inevitable. And when you do, you're going to start attracting the wrong type of client. Now, in real estate, we know that there's about 80% of realtors that don't make it past 2 years because it's such a difficult business. Those aren't the clients you want. You want to go after the 20% that know how to garner clients, to be able to get these sellers to hire them to sell their house. The other ones, the 80%, they're going to be very price conscious because they get into a vicious circle of thinking, I need to keep my price low because I don't make much money, but then they don't make much money because they don't invest in their business. So really think about that. If you want to grow your business, do you just want to take on more gigs? I would say no. Instead, what you need to do is get really good at your craft. If all you ever want to do is just run around to a bunch of houses all day and charge next to nothing, go for it. I wouldn't recommend that. I don't see how anybody could really be happy doing that. If it does make you happy, great. But most real estate photographers and photographers in general get into photography because they love photography. And people will pay you very well to do high quality work. But if all you want to do is grow your business by just getting a lot more gigs and just running around, you're just going to be in that race to the bottom. You're not going to expand. You'll get some growth out of it. But if you want to do this for 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years, then you have to really think about the long game. You want to get better. You want to expand into other markets. And that also is then a positive cycle because as you expand into other markets, you can also get better and grow your photography business even further.